Hello and welcome back, listeners. This is the orientation video for Long Walk Talks Lost. I'm Chief Engineer David Hensley, and I'm joined tonight by Head Researcher
Robert Bradford
and our staff quantum physicist
Cara Hayes.
And we are continuing our Lost 20-year retrospective now in Season 5. It's weird because a year ago we were still talking about Season 1.
Wow.
Yep.
It has been a run.
It has. And we watched the first 3 episodes of Season 5, and I feel like it's off to a weird start, this one, after, 3 and 4 hit the ground running, and, for the most part, we're foot on the gas the whole way. Now I feel like we're back to the world of place setting.
I was thinking about that a lot, too. Just remembering how Season 4 especially just felt like they were hitting the gas pedal, going, 100 miles faster than they ever had before. And this one, it's coming out slow and steady. It's got 1 or 2 kind of big sequences, but nothing that feels as huge as, like, the first time a parachutist drops onto the island and, we meet Faraday, or just the one-by-one reveal of the Oceanic Six.
Yeah.
And I think that is a deliberate choice on their part, and the more I think about it, the more I'm impressed by it, but it is different from what I was expecting.
Yeah, we're in very new territory now, but before we dive into that, we had another themed cocktail this week. Robert, talk to us and the listeners about the cocktail that you made for us.
So I admit I've been getting a little bit desperate, which is probably a bad sign given that we haven't been doing this gimmick for that long, but Cara is not a huge fan of whiskey in the way that David and I are, and a lot of my preferred cocktails are bourbon-based, so that was already kind of starting me off on a little off kilter. So sometimes I've just been kind of Googling, like, okay, what's a drink 2 words that I think about for this episode, and then the word cocktail. What does Google give me for that? And this is the set of episodes that gives us the immortal quote, "Why is there a dead Pakistani on my couch?" And because there is a lot of the Hurley Saeed buddy cop drama for these episodes, I decided to look up Pakistani margarita just to see if that was actually a thing. And shockingly, it is. It's more often called like a mint margarita or a mint lemonade.
It's fucking delicious.
Yeah, it's commonly served in like Indo-Pakistani restaurants, popular drink during Ramadan. The original version is actually non-alcoholic. It's lemon juice, sugar, a lemon lime soda like Sprite or Starry, and then blended mint and a little bit of salt. And yeah, so you basically just blend up the ingredients and pour it on top of the soda. I added a splash of tequila just for our version, but yeah, I was a fan.
It was fantastic. I think, honestly, it's hands down the favorite cocktail that we've had thus far. Of course, who's surprised there? But I would drink that anytime.
I was a big fan of the scotch that you served us, but so far I have not been let down by any of the cocktails, the themed cocktails that we have had.
I will happily take second place to the guys who blew.
I'm sorry, what?
Distill. I started to say brew and then realized you don't brew scotch, and I did not correct myself gracefully. But yes, to the makers of 15-year Glenfiddich, I do not mind being ranked behind them.
That's fair, yeah. So I'm looking at the notes, and I feel like after several weeks of our notes just getting increasingly longer, these are fairly short. Like, we're back to Season 1 note-taking levels here, except for Cara. You've got your own separate notes this time, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
just kind of so I could remember stuff, and then, hopefully I can just interject as you guys are going through.
Okay, well, if you need us to stop, just scream incoherently into the microphone, and I'll take a break.
I can do that.
Just give us a good Walt.
Whoa, okay.
There we go. All right, we're going to start off with the Season 5, Episode 1, which is titled Because You Left. There is no flashback-centric character this episode, and we have no idea what day it is. So we really are in brand new territory here, like I was saying at the beginning, because we can't really track the show's progress anymore now that, people are bouncing around through time.
For part of this episode, you could track the people who were left back on the island in 2004, and then very quickly that goes away.
Oh, yeah.
Is there nothing in the Lostpedia? Like, did nobody ever figure it out?
No, because there are vague ideas of like what years the people on the island are ending up in.
Yeah, well, sorry, good.
No, there are some cases where you can be like, oh, okay, we know the Beechcraft crashed in 2000. So when when they're bouncing around, that means that for this section, they're back in the year 2000.
Yeah.
There are some sections that there are no idea. And weirdly, Lostpedia lists this as a Pierre Chang-centric episode, but he has one flashback at the very beginning.
Yeah, I would disagree with that one.
Yeah, it can't even be called a flashback if we never get a present scene. It's more just that we get a prologue. It's set in the future for our characters and in the past for it's
Yeah.
But it is kind of calling the shot for the rest of the season.
Yep, and we get a twofer here. I put, this is another record player opening, and Robert, you put...
Also the classic, who is this person? Where we get like the routine of a person, similar to Desmond in the Hatch in episode 2, or in season 2, or Juliet in her house in season 3. We see a guy get up an alarm that goes off at, I think, 8:14?
8:15.
8:15. And then he goes about his day, puts a song on the record. And I actually did not write down what the song was.
No.
But it's a, kind of an upbeat sort of probably 60s or 70s number. But it's interrupted when the record player starts skipping. And then the music drops out of the scene and we just move straight ahead with dialogue. So we're already kind of off course for how these usually go. In that, one, the music is diegetic, and two, it stops, and a skipping record is going to be an image that another character deliberately invokes to describe what's going on in the island later on.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because I had forgotten all about this. So when the record started skipping, I was like, nice. A little bit of visual foreshadowing. That's nice and subtle. So later in the episode, when Faraday's like, think of it like a record skipping on a turntable, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess it's not that subtle then.
Well, I think we're not quite at the point where the audience would have no idea what a record is, but it probably couldn't hurt to just... It's like a CD, but made of wax, and you have to stab it
to
make music.
The kids know what these are now because they collect them. I know this from a 15-year-old friend's 15-year-old daughter. I went to the Billie Eilish concert with her, and apparently collecting vinyls is the thing now.
Yes, very much so. And remember when you used to go to like a secondhand shop and get 5 records for a nickel?
Yep.
Yeah, fuck you. Because now it's like $75.
What?
Now those records could pay for your kids' college.
Yeah.
Maybe
Damn
I should
kids.
Go through my parents' house.
That's the theme. Get off our lawn. Anyway, so the person from the flashback is Dr. Pierre Chang, a.k.a. Dr. Melvin Candle. I can't keep up with
Marvin?
it. Martin Candle.
Yeah. Martin Candle, Mark Wickman, Edgar Halowax. It's got a real candle theme. I think those are the 3 aliases we've seen.
Yeah. So it's him, and he heads to the Orchid Station. And I wrote down, wow, that looks a lot different than the last time we saw it. Here it actually looks like a completed and functioning station, not the overgrown mess of a greenhouse that it eventually becomes.
And of course, down in the under section, they're still tunneling, digging mines. And the reason Chang has been called there is because they've reached a point in the wall that just keeps melting the drill bits they stick into it. And as he explains to the skeptical foreman, they need to proceed carefully because on the other side of that wall is a force that will let them basically travel in time. And when the foreman's like, so we're going to go back in time and kill Hitler? Chang just says there are rules that can't be broken, which is something that the writers will keep returning to, and we're going to find out is sort of true, but has a couple of really big asterisks on it. It is sort of a trust us moment just to be like, look, we know what we're doing. I know time travel. No, come back. Don't run out of your room. But the button on the whole thing is after he walks away, the foreman's like, can you believe it? Time travel. How stupid does he think we are? And the man he's talking to, who is Daniel Faraday, is just like, yeah, how about that? Which is a great little act out for that opening.
And so when would that have been for Faraday?
So this is the year like 1975, 76? 77.
Oh, no.
I was thinking it was in the 70s. Well, yeah. So did Faraday travel back in time?
Oh,
guess
this is
I
going to
don't-
be fun for you, Cara.
Oh,
We got a lot of that coming up. A lot
good.
of what the hell?
Well, yeah. Okay, good. Awesome.
Yes,
So-
that will get an
Yeah.
answer. For a show that's very much like, are we ever going to get an answer for this? Are the writers ever going to pull it out of their ass? Yes, and very soon.
I actually
feel
think season 5 probably is the most like the things they call forward to get paid off quickly. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
couple of things that they're laying out for the last season, but most of the moments in this, like, you know, Richard coming out of the jungle to talk to Locke, or what is Faraday doing in that mining operation? This is, I think, almost all stuff we find out by the season finale.
Okay, good.
And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, before that, because there's the everybody is unstuck in time / has to get back to the island half of the season, and then there's the everything after that section of the season.
Yeah, and it's basically there's a pretty significant episode. I was looking over the just the list of episode titles for the season, and there's one in particular that happened a lot sooner than I remembered. The life and death of Jeremy Bentham.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a big dividing line for the season and the show as a whole. There's an interesting thing that happens as we jump back to 2007, where Locke's body is still in the funeral parlor while Jack and Ben have their conversation. And there's an interesting thing where Jack talks about he remembers his last conversation with Locke before Locke died, and we see cutaways to just the people on the island as Jack mentions them. Just, you know, Sawyer and Juliet on the beach. I think we see people on the freighter. And it's an interesting thing the show does to not have like, oh, we're flashing back to a different scene, but actually like Jack talks about character. Let's see picture of character. I don't think they do this really any other time. So it's kind of interesting that, again, I'll talk about it a little more later, but for a show for a season that is so confident that the audience is going to keep up with what's going on, this is, I think, the one moment where they're just like, okay, remember where everybody's starting right now. This is important.
Yeah, we were talking about the links between seasons at this point and how we haven't really had, we always get the previously on Lost, but we've never had like a very blatant, hey, remember this? And I was thinking about that. Season 1 through 3 always started in September and ended in May. So you had June, July, and August off, and then you were right back into it. Season 4 started in January of 2008 and ended in May of 2008. So then you had an 7-month turnaround before it came back with this season in January of 2009. So I guess they really did need to be like, hey, remember this? All this stuff that happened last time?
Yeah, because, you know, now we get the option of just rewatching all of the previous seasons when it takes a show 3 years to write season 2.
I just realized I took a long chain of notes here. So
You did, and I was watching, but I was just sort of like, okay, yeah, we're moving along. We're getting all these pieces into place. Like I keep comparing it, going back to season 1. We're world building now. We're place setting now. All of this is going to provide a lot of notes later.
one thing I will just note here is that Matthew Fox is continuing to play Jack as he continues on from that scene in the flash forward at the end of season 3, just this broken guy. He does shave off the beard quickly, and Ben flushes all of his pills down the toilet, which Jack not very convincingly claims he was planning to do anyway. But Matthew Fox is just really good at playing this kind of broken down version of Jack. Like just there's a hesitance in the way he speaks, just this way he's kind of going along with whatever plan somebody else is coming up with. Like Ben is just absolutely leading him around in their scenes, and he just is so lost. He has no idea how to like be the leader that we saw running around the beach in the first season. And going from here to where he's going to be at the end of the show is a really great TV journey. I'm very excited to watch him get to play that. The only other thing, I forget where these are in relation, but sorry, Dave, were you about to say something?
Oh, I was going to say this next note. I think you were being generous here when you said Locke's 5 minutes as leader leader of the others comes to an end. It's more like Locke's 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If that, yeah, because we have our first time hop on the island. There's a really bright light and a noise, and suddenly everybody is standing where they were, but the island is sort of shifted around them. So, like, the camp of the survivors on the beach, all their shelters and suitcases and stuff are just gone. Locke is standing in the midst of the others talking to Richard, and suddenly he's alone in the jungle. And it really does feel like just another cruel joke on John Locke that he finally is like, he's embraced his destiny. He's the leader of the others. He can find out all the secrets of oh, no, everybody who could talk to you is gone. And the next time you really see them as a group, they're going to have no idea who you are.
It really kind of feels like a missed opportunity to see John at his, like, what he would consider his personal best. But also, like you said, Locke's entire life has been a cruel joke. So,
well,
here we are.
Continuing the cruel joke, I mean, given what we will get to see in the back half of this season, I mean, but we'll get to that when we come to it. Yeah, so he eventually, I think he makes his way to high ground and sees, like we talked about earlier, the beach craft carrying Echo's brother and the two fake priests crash. He goes to investigate it and does the old attempt to climb up the vines, because that's always ended well for everyone who does it. And indeed, in this case, he gets about halfway up, and then somebody in the forest shoots him in the leg, continuing the long-running thing of Locke's moments of being like most adrift being coupled with an injury to his leg or losing his ability to walk again.
Or, falling from a height.
Yeah. And the guy who shoots him comes out of the jungle, and it's Ethan.
Oh, he's so fucking creepy.
Yeah, what's interesting is I don't think he was wearing like the jungle garb that the others usually do. He's wearing just kind of normal casual clothing.
Yeah, I think the implication is at this point they were all living at the barracks and doing their whole Dharma initiative. We're all living like normal people except for all these weird experiments and keeping up our ninja training.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell when they fit that into their routines, but clearly they were keeping up on it.
There's an interesting question that if I think Locke gives his name, he says, "I know who you are," and calls Ethan by name. You wonder, does Ethan remember this guy years later when he's infiltrating the 815 survivors? Is that why he, partnered up with Locke as a hunter? Because he was trying to figure out, he's like, wait, didn't I shoot you in the jungle one time? And he was just waiting to see if Locke would say anything or recognize him.
Oh.
There's going to be a lot of those kind of questions that the show's just going to sort of gloss over, mainly thanks to Faraday, which, as you've got the next one here as well.
Yeah, so he is, most of the other survivors still on the island apart from Locke quickly regroup back on the beach, and Faraday, the physicist, is on top of all this and explains what's happening, and once they go through a couple of jumps, I think he leads them to the other's hatch, or the hatch, what was it, the Swan Station?
Yeah.
Explaining that they need to do something man-made on the island so they can identify where they are in time. They go there and find that it's already been imploded, so they know they're after a certain point. They have another flash, and then it's been, it's no longer imploded. And then I think they're on their way back to the beach when a flash happens again, and when Sawyer's like, okay, when are we now? Faraday helpfully says, we're either in the past or we're in the future. And God bless Jeremy Davies, because you really cannot tell if he's being sarcastic with Sawyer or not at that point.
We haven't talked a lot about the 2007 portion of the plot, which picks up where the last season ended. Saeed's rescue of Hurley from the mental institution. They go back to what is supposed to be a safe house, and the show really leans into the action movie side that we don't see a lot of. When we do get it, it's pretty great, because this builds up to two assassins trying to incapacitate Saeed, him killing one pretty easily, and then getting hit several times with multiple tranquilizer darts, pulling open the dishwasher so that the bottom tray rolls out, and then basically body slams a guy onto a bunch of upturned knives. Now let me ask you both, when you do the dishes, do you put your knives in blades up?
Oh, absolutely not.
No?
And scenes like this are a huge part of the reason why. Because I think of both this and the TV show Supernatural had a scene where somebody dies falling onto an open dishwasher. And I was just like, that's not going to be me. Don't know what else it'll be, but it won't be that.
Unless the implication here is that Saeed is so fucking paranoid that he's like, you know what? A time may come when I have to kill a man with the dishwasher. And I have all of these knives to wash. Two birds with one stone. I'm going to wash them, but I'm going to leave them pointy side up just in case.
And it's like, this is the safe house is like a hotel room. It's not like he's, this is an apartment he's been living out of. So these are presumably knives he got specifically for the purposes of this trap.
Well, I kind of thought it was like an extended stay kind of place that actually has like a kitchenette and that kind of stuff to where it's, like a apartment light, I guess.
That's the implication that I thought, because he does mention that it's a safe house, and with Saeed traveling all over the world assassinating people, and we don't really know where all of his funds for this are coming from, it would make sense to have several long stay or extended stay rooms in different cities all over the world. And he just, for this one, bought some really nice knives. Because it's Saeed. He's picking up blonde women and making dinner for them and bedding them.
Yeah, I mean, you always need good knives.
It's true. So, the whole 2007 stuff, again, place setting on the island, the remaining 815 survivors come up with the idea, despite being told, well, they haven't been told this yet. It's in the first scene where Chang does the whole, you can't change the past or the future conversation. They come up with the idea of the Sawyer and Juliet, yes, like, hey, if we end up in a timeline, or not a timeline, if we end up in a year where we can talk to our other selves, let's warn them not to do this and that. And Faraday has to explain to them how that would not work. And we get the first instance of the 3-word phrase that's going to be a running theme this season. Whatever happened, happened.
I do appreciate Sawyer, even still in his kind of heroic place now, is the guy who, if you're told, no, there are rules that say you can't do this, is to just ignore them and be like, well, that's stupid. I'm going to do what makes sense right now. So that, when Faraday's like, you can't go into the hatch now because you guys didn't go into the hatch before. And Sawyer's like, well, I'm not sticking around to hunt boar out here, which is a fun little, I'm not going back to season 1 where we were doing that. I'm going to season 2 where we were in the hatch with shower and laundry. And yeah, he has to be told that it won't work that way. Except, as it turns out, what Faraday didn't mention is there are some people who are exceptions to the rules. Because once everybody else leaves, he gets the door to open and Desmond comes out to talk to him. To make it even more complicated, Desmond has also actually recognizes Faraday from when they met during the Constant. Because remember, several years before, after breaking up with Penny, Desmond went to visit this guy's lab. It's not really clear if that's part of his memories or not, but he definitely seems to recognize Faraday for a second. And Faraday tells him, you need to, find my mother. She can help you. And in 2007, Desmond wakes up on his boat remembering, oh yeah, I met this guy and he told me to do a thing. So while events can't really change, maybe memories can be rewritten a little bit.
And since Faraday wasn't there the first time, he could, make something happen, I guess.
Well, he had the note in his journal, as we saw back in season 4, that Desmond was his constant if he got unstuck in time, that he was using the fact that he knew this guy in multiple timelines in a way that gave them a connection.
Oh, okay.
And it's interesting that even this far back, because it's kind of implied that the reason Desmond can do all this stuff is because he was so directly affected by the blast of electromagnetism when the hatch imploded. So we're going back farther than that, though. If we're in, I think, 2000 now, or no, this would be sometime between 2001 and 2004, Desmond's 3-year stay in there. So he would not have been exposed to it yet, but he's still
able to benefit.
Yeah.
I'm going to say one of my favorite ideas of time travel is the idea that sort of Tenet style thing. If something happens to disrupt the flow of time, there's no reason to think it would only move in one direction. that this event that Desmond was at the center of is not only moving forward in his timeline, it also can go back and affect him. Like Faraday uses the metaphor of a street that they can go forward or backwards on, but they can't make a new street. Think of the hatch implosion as like a water main that bursts and sends water flying in both directions.
Oh, I like that. Cara, what were you about to say?
The whole street thing, it bothered me. Because
it bothered Sawyer too, because he slaps Faraday at one point, just being so sick of him trying to explain this.
I mean, I wouldn't slap Faraday, but like
I might.
But his statement was something about, time is like a street. We can't build another street, except that we can. I mean, we can always build new streets. Like you can put in an intersection. Or, you can, put a branch over here. Like,
See, you're thinking of the Avengers Endgame time travel theory where changing the past creates an alternate timeline.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those cases
I guess I am.
where the metaphor doesn't quite work because the thing he's using to illustrate doesn't work exactly like the rule he's illustrating.
Yeah, but it does make sense where, it not only goes forward, it goes backward. Like that. It makes a street make sense.
Yeah, this is operating on the Terminator 1 and 2 theory of time travel, of going backwards and forwards, but not creating alternate timelines.
So
Except no, because even then that doesn't work because 1 and 2 both relied heavily on changing the past to alter the future.
I would say 1 is a closed loop time story. 2 is I think we talked about this.
When the very first mention of time travel came up, that was when I went on my rant about people misunderstanding the whole point of the Terminator franchise.
Yeah. So where would like Back to the Future fall? Because like that's obviously like you go back and change things.
Yeah, Back to the Future is on the Terminator 1 and 2 theory of time travel, of altering the past also alters the future.
Okay.
So, think of it like Looper. Do you ever see that one?
Yes.
Yeah, where like literally just the present gets rewritten as the past changes like second to second. But yeah,
well, now that we've had a side discussion about time travel.
Well, they have a fun illustration of it where after Locke gets shot, Richard comes out of the jungle and patches him up and gives him information based on stuff Locke has already told him. But Locke, he's like, wait, I haven't told you that. And Richard's like, well, you will. I didn't write this down, but there's the immortal line when he gives Locke a compass. And it's like, here, you'll need this. And Locke goes, what does it do? And Richard takes a beat and goes, it points north, John.
That was cute. I like that.
And we'll see in the third episode, Locke gives this compass to Richard, and this is going to be what we saw in Locke's flashback. When he's a kid, Richard came to him with those objects and was like, tell me which of these already belongs to you. And we find out that was the compass that Locke gave him after Richard gave it to Locke. So, yeah, where did the compass come from to begin with? Who knows?
Outer space.
Yeah, this is the whole like where did the compass come from is the chicken and the egg of theology, because if you think about that one too hard, it's going to just melt your brain.
One other thing that I just kind of noted as an interesting thing about the rules of time travel is depicted on this show. The main group of others that live on the island are not affected by this time distortion. Like, they all disappear, but Locke is still sitting there. Juliet, however, stays with the survivors. Like, she is getting transported through time right along with them, which I don't know if it means anything or there's some kind of like symbolism in how she truly has like left her people behind and become one of them, if there's something about how long you are on the island before you're tethered to it in the way that most of the survivors aren't. But it's just an interesting thing to note there.
And I think that might have something to do with being as vague as possible here, Jacob's influence.
That could make sense.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Okay.
And we saved them all here for the end, but we get our Sawyer nickname watch for the season, for the beginning of the season. It's a rather easy one, but he calls Charlotte Ginger. He calls Daniel Dilbert. And a self-nickname for once, he calls himself the Ghost of Christmas Future.
When he's banging on the door trying to get Desmond to let him in.
And that wraps up like everything that we said about episode 1. Again, just putting the chess pieces into place for the rest of the season. We're going to move on to episode 502, The Lie, which was aired the same night as 501. Great call from Robert, because he was like, these feel like two pieces of the same thing. They aired on the same night. And I looked it up and went, yeah, shit, they did. I didn't write down the date, but yeah, January 2009. 16, almost, oh God, I'm not going to think about that too hard. Never
Nope.
mind.
Yeah, so we open with actually a flashback to when the Oceanic Six were deciding to maintain the lie. And we get a glimpse of Lapidus, who we haven't seen so far this season, but just continuing to be just the chillest guy and explaining that whatever they come up with, he's just going to roll with. Because, a little Lapidus, still a highlight of the episode.
Yep.
Back in 2007, Hurley is having to drive him and Saeed away from the site of the safe house fight, because not only did two men get brutally killed and Saeed got tranked into unconsciousness, Hurley picked up one of the weapons and got seen by people in the parking lot. So now, in addition to the guy that Saeed shot outside his mental hospital, Hurley is believed to be a triple murderer on the run who's escaped from an insane asylum. So not his best day ever. And he gets pulled over by the cops. Seems like it's going to get worse, except who should walk over to the window but
Cara's favorite character.
It's Ana Lucia.
Meh.
And who warns Hurley that he should not be driving like a maniac if he wants to avoid attention. And Michelle Rodriguez can certainly give pointers about driving like a maniac.
Womp.
It's a Fast and the Furious joke. I don't know what else I could be referring to.
Yeah, nothing.
It's actually a nice little reappearance because, one, it could either be Hurley seeing a vision of someone who's deceased, which we know he's seen Charlie. He played chess with Mr. Echo. So it could really be that she's crossing back to try to help him out. But it's also kind of one of those nice things where there's nothing she tells him that couldn't just be something that would occur to him if he was just really thinking out the situation. Change out of bloody clothing, drive safely, don't draw attention, get him somewhere safe.
But the scene does end with Ana Lucia telling him, oh yeah, Libby says hi.
Yeah. So it's a nice little return for her.
Shortly on the heels of the last one, we get a Sawyer nickname watch, and I think it might have been the only one in the episode. He calls Daniel Dr. Wizard, which leads to a discussion about, no, it's Mr. Wizard if you're going to be referencing something.
Yep.
Yeah, so Hurley just, goes to a gas station where he can change out of his bloody clothing, and unfortunately for him, the TV is turned to the Exposition channel, as all convenience store TVs are. And there's a fun little scene where the clerk has her back to the TV, but is sure she recognizes Hurley from somewhere. He's a bad liar, but she hasn't seen the news about the triple murder, so she eventually is like, oh yeah, you're the guy who won the lottery and survived a plane crash. And he gets out before anything else happens, including before Kate arrives at the same station. That shows we didn't know anything about Kate's plot. Yeah.
Who gives a shit about Kate, honestly?
Yeah.
Now lawyers are coming after her looking for blood tests because a mysterious third party thinks that she couldn't possibly be Aaron's mother.
Which, again, a nice note of somebody within the show being like, you obviously weren't 6 months pregnant when you got arrested in Australia. Irrespective of everything else, it's like, yeah, it's nice that other characters are seeing through what was always kind of a flimsy story. But yeah, she is running. She pulls into the gas station just after Hurley peels out and then gets a phone call from a mysterious someone, or should I say someone.
Stop that.
Yeah. Dang, we also didn't talk about Sun's scene where she gets a nice little stare down with Charles Widmore.
Yeah. Again,
There was so much.
there was a lot that really, it didn't really so much amount to discussion as it is like, oh, and this happened. Mm-hmm. She gets pulled out of airport security and taken to a private room so that Widmore can have a one-on-one with her after being like, you approached me in public.
Yeah, jerk.
The audacity.
Just generally note across the episode, Saeed is unconscious for pretty much this entire time, but just gets to do a lot of really fun things, like where when Hurley goes into the store, he puts some sunglasses over Saeed so it looks like he's just asleep, and then as soon as when Hurley shuts the door, the car shifts a little bit, and Saeed's head just slumps forward in this really awkward way. Just a lot of really fun, just limp acting by Naveen Andrews.
For an entire episode. So that had to be fun for him to get that script and realize he was unconscious for the whole thing. Be like, well, I don't have to memorize any lines this week.
That is a dream episode for me.
Right.
Trade-off, don't blink, twitch, smile, do anything else. We only have 18 more takes.
Yeah, exactly. And hold your breath. Guys, we were talking about all the things that we missed and people we didn't bring up. We've made it this far and we haven't talked about Neil, a.k.a. Frogurt, yet.
Oh,
Frogurt.
I took some notes on him.
Let's hear them. Go ahead before I get on to the next one.
I took 3.
Uh-huh.
The first one is, who the fuck is Neil? The second one is, can someone please fucking kill Neil? He is insufferable. And then, thank you, Flaming Arrows.
Yeah, they do this thing that they've done in every season premiere where it's like, hey, here's another survivor from 815 that's going to be important. What, you don't remember this person? They've been here the entire time. Famously, the last time they did it, it was with Nikki and Paolo, and we all know how that worked out.
So well.
Uh-huh. So it's like we get an episode and a half of like, oh, yeah, and now this guy is going to be important, except he's really fucking obnoxious.
Which kind of works because you understand why our main characters would have been avoiding this person as much as possible.
Yeah, they never really explain why they call him Frogurt. Yeah, you can draw your own conclusion there. I'd like to imagine it's something like completely unrelated to working in a frozen yogurt shop. But he exists so that for the sake of one joke.
He gets arsted.
Yep.
I love it.
He is complaining about their lack of fire and fire-making ability and gets to shout, "We can't even get any fire," and then gets a flaming arrow to the back, which kicks off the next round of calling the extras. Started back in season 4 with them dying in the jungle and on the freighter, and now a whole bunch of them get taken out at once by flaming arrows because the big question was, what do we do with all the 815 survivors who aren't main cast members? How long are we going to keep them around? Well, we're not. We're just going to start killing them.
They're expendable.
I
Nobody
think we
cares.
see Vincent running for safety. We see Rose and Bernard before the arrows start. We don't see them afterwards, which I will not mind telling you was a source of tension for myself and many other people I watched it with for a long time to come.
Uh-huh. Yeah, R.I.P. Rose and Bernard, killed by flaming arrows.
We both stare at Cara.
Stop it.
I'm just kidding.
I know you are. But no,
It's
I
just
actually
Rose.
was just having some concerned thoughts about Vincent, and then also wondered why Jack just didn't take him on the helicopter too, because he's a good boy. But then also when when Ben came and said everybody has to go back to the island, like, would that have included Vincent? Like, if he had gotten off the island? Anyway, just that's how my brain works. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. We love those kind of tangents. This is a whole show of those.
And it's good that we can keep saying back in 2007 and back on the island, because we're at the point where it's very fuzzy what year anything on the island is happening. Hurley gets back to his house and gets Saeed inside, is talking to his dad, and while they're upstairs having a conversation, his mom comes back from shopping, and we hear her with just a very nonchalant, "Why is there a dead Pakistani on my couch?" And I love that line so much, because if she just said, like, almost anything else, like if she just said, "Why is there a dead Iraqi?" they would be like, well, how does she know? If she said, "Why is there a dead Arab?" it would just feel racist and mean. The fact that she makes a very specific but wrong assumption is just what makes it hilarious. And then that Hurley quickly corrects he's not dead, and his mom just goes, "Well, he's not breathing," just again seeming totally unruffled. And it's just I love Hurley and his family, and every scene of theirs is just gold. His dad continues to just be one of the few just solidly good dads on the show, just moving himself back into that category after abandoning Hurley when he was younger, up to and including driving Saeed out like under a blanket or something in his car so they can get him to Jack, who can treat him. And, going past the cops who are watching Hurley's house now that he's a fugitive. And we get a lovely scene where Hurley then tries to explain the show up to that point to his mom.
And I bring this up every time Jorge Garcia gets time to shine, but it's worth it because the show really loves to try to give dramatic moments to all the other characters. Whenever it's Kate, it often falls flat. But Jack and Locke have gotten to have a lot of really great dramatic moments. Sawyer's gotten his fair share. Desmond. So many characters get these moments, but Jorge Garcia makes his stand out every time. So this conversation that he has with his mother is brilliant. And also the subversion at the end of it, because obviously she's going to hear all of his explanation and be like, oh no, my son is still crazy. But instead she's like, no, I believe you. I don't understand it, but I believe you. And it's like, oh, fuck, man.
Which is a really beautiful thing for a parent to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
And also just his summary of like the first 4 seasons to that point, just saying things like there was a button we had to push or else. Well, actually, I was never clear on that, but it doesn't matter because it all blew up anyway. Yeah, just general note for Back on the Island. We get what's going to become one of the main character pairings of this season with Sawyer and Juliet being kind of the two central figures of the island survivors. And yeah, just the scenes of them like walking through the jungle and like, Juliet pointing out that like Sawyer shouted, "Meet at the creek," as they were running away. And then it's like, which part of the creek? And Sawyer's like, I don't know, the wet part. Just even when they're kind of snapping at each other, they just do have this really casual, relaxed chemistry with each other that, again, throws into just relief how much he didn't really have this with Kate. But I'm glad the writers are picking it up and are going to keep that ball rolling as we go along. I don't think we noted the scene where Sun and Kate meet up because Sun did call her. They come to a hotel room, and Sun is clearly using Kate to find her way to where Ben is. But she also does a very nice piece of knife twisting when she talks about, like, well, Kate's, on the run because she's doing what she has to do to keep Aaron safe. That's what we all do, right? Like you did when you told me you were going to go get my husband off the freighter, and you didn't. And, like, she lets that hang just long enough for Kate to kind of die inside. And then Sun goes, no, I don't blame you. You did what you had to do, in this very flat way. And then that just makes Kate cry even harder. And again, Yunjin Kim is always good, but especially when she gets to play this, like, harder-edged version of Sun.
And Kate deserved it.
Yeah, she did. I love this scene so much. Because fuck you, Kate.
Back in the house, Hurley is just trying to sit down and relax with a Hot Pocket when Ben sneaks in to approach him, and brilliant reaction shot of Hurley going, ah, and throwing the Hot Pocket and it hitting the wall maybe 3 feet to Ben's left.
Hurley chucking that at him.
Highlight of the episode.
1,000%.
Very appropriate reaction to seeing Ben. Just whatever you have in your hand, throw it at him.
Yes.
Yeah, because Saeed had already warned him, whatever Ben tells you to do the opposite. And so that's exactly what Hurley does. Ben tries to pull a Ben on him and get him to go back with him and Jack because they all need to go back to the island. So instead, Hurley runs out into the street and turns himself into the cops by saying, yes, I killed those 4 people or 3 people, however many people I killed. Brilliant stuff. Meanwhile, Ben is just standing in the doorway of his house, flabbergasted. No one notices him. The cops are so intent on taking down Hurley, no one notices the strange man in his house, but it's fine.
Insert joke about the LAPD having a sufficiently Hispanic subject in custody and not really needing to look any further.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It is just a great scene because Ben is, he's the master manipulator. And for season after season, we've seen him just play everybody like a fiddle. And just to have it blow up completely in his face like that is very satisfying.
It is. And at the end here, I wrote down, that felt like the shortest episode ever. Because when we were watching the first episode, I was like, is this like an extra long kind of thing? Which they didn't really do back in 2009. Nowadays, with the streaming services, you don't know how long an episode's going to be. It could be 45 minutes. It could be an hour and a half. Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon became famous for that.
Oh, yeah. It was all over the place.
Yeah. But episode 1 felt so long, even though it was still like the average 42 minutes. This one picks up the pace. And when it ended, I was like, oh, shit. Okay. That felt a lot shorter. So with that said, we're going to move on to episode 503. Jughead.
Who's going to eat the most cheeseburgers in this episode?
Exactly. So I was going off of what Lostpedia said. So like I said, 501, it listed as a Pierre Chang episode, which didn't make sense. It listed 502 as a Hurley episode, which, okay, sort of. Like he was kind of the focal point, but there were no flashbacks.
I guess technically we get one opening flashback for each. We see Chang waking up and going about his routine. And then in 2, we see the flashback to when the Oceanic 6 were on Penny's boat. And then in this one, we open with Desmond getting a doctor back to the boat where Penny is giving birth to their son.
Yeah.
So I guess we have like a before, and then we jump to what they're doing in 2007.
Well, I took out the Chang and Hurley thing when I was updating the notes, and I forgot to do it with this one. So I still have it in here that this is a Desmond episode, even though it's really not. Like these 3 episodes are very much just the ensemble episodes. But anyway, yes. So it does start out with Desmond.
So again, we see him and Penny having their son now that they're living happily on a boat, just sailing around the world. And it turns out after remembering what Faraday told him, he is now going back to England. There's a fun little misdirect where he's sitting on the deck of the boat with his kid, and the kid just gets this adorable little wool knit sweater. It looks so cute and very comfortable. And Desmond's talking about this island, this mysterious and special island far across the sea. And it turns out he's talking about Great Britain and specifically Scotland, where Desmond is from. And he talks about how it's got, highlands and lochs and bloody great monsters in the mist. And I'm just listening to it and I'm like, damn, if nobody from Scotland's tourism bureau or whatever tried to get Henry and Cusick to record a commercial about it, because just listening to that 10-second speech, I was like, oh, dang it, I got to go back to Scotland sometime.
Well, the culling of the extras continues, and I think this might actually be the end of it, as far as I can remember.
These 2 guys, these 2 generic white guys who have survived plane crashes and polar bears and every other thing up to this point, including
smoke monsters,
the flaming arrows raining from the sky. They made it through all of that.
For a second, they forget that they don't have names and step in the path of claymores, which blow them up.
Not even just up. Like that one guy was doing 100 miles an hour straight across the screen.
Yeah.
That, oh my God, it always cracks me up.
I imagine the PAs standing around going, is that all of them? Like, or not the PAs, but like the screenwriters and everybody just sitting around, the directors, the showrunners. All right, so besides the main characters, we still had 32 survivors left. Did we get all of them?
Anyone left? Cocks a shotgun. Anyone? Anyone?
If your character has a name, step forward. It'll be fine.
Yeah, so we wind up with kind of 2 distinct groups. There's Sawyer and Juliet, and they're eventually joined by Locke, who comes to rescue them after they're intercepted by others wearing the uniforms of army soldiers. And army soldiers, that's redundant. And then Faraday, Miles, and Charlotte are off on their own, and they get captured. I don't know how old the actress actually was, but she looks like a 12-year-old. She's just this very petite blonde lady, and she's got her hair in braids. I mean, she's got a gun. She's all business, but it really does look like she's marching off to report them to her babysitter or something. Her name is Ellie, we find out, which is I'm trying to remember if we've heard the full name of the other version of her. Cara, do you remember that we've met this character already?
The only thing I can think of was it was the little girl that Ben befriended.
Not a bad guess, but this is, I think, because we're in the 40s now, right? Because this is after soldiers came to the island. But yeah, we've met this character somewhere else around her timeline. But I'm trying to remember if we heard that character's name in any context that would cause Ellie to be kind of a giveaway.
I don't think so. And now I'm doing the math in my head. Cara, I think you talked about this last week of trying to do the mental gymnastics. If we assume that this is the late 40s, because
maybe early 50s.
It's got to
it's
got to be early 50s.
Yeah.
Because if this character is old enough to be in the military or old enough to have been sent to the island, they've got to be around 20.
Well, she's she's another. We find that out. That they're wearing the uniforms, but the uniforms belong to soldiers who were killed by the others after they came to the island.
So she would have had to have been born in the 30s.
So
by 2004,
a youthful mid-70s.
Yeah, I don't know how much sense this makes.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more when we find out who she is.
Okay.
See if we can make that math.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Sawyer and Juliet get these two others, or I think it's three others, intercept them, and one of them tells Sawyer, "You're going to tell me everything or I'll cut off her other hand." And when Sawyer's like, "What do you mean other hand?" He's like, "Oh, the first one's not negotiable. It's just to show you I'm serious."
that made me chuckle.
He's British, but I'm not going to try to do the accent. But just they really emphasize it. And after Locke ambushes them, kills one, and they take the other two hostage, when the other guy seems like he's convinced that Juliet actually is part of the other's society, he's about to start communicating with them. So dark-haired guy breaks his neck and goes running off into the forest. And we're learning a lot about this guy that, boy, what a jerk he is.
Mm-hmm.
Sure wouldn't want him to have like infinite resources and a grudge.
Recipe for disaster.
Mm-hmm.
On a totally unrelated note, we skipped over most of Desmond's episode, which is going to Oxford and trying to, because Faraday told him to find his mother, but got time flashed away before he could say her name. So Desmond's just trying to follow his trail, goes to Oxford, finds his lab, and then discovers that Faraday at some point ran experiments on his girlfriend and left her in she's not dead, which we find out can be kind of the worst case scenario, but she's kind of, her brain is unstuck in time, that she keeps talking to people who have been dead for years or not recognizing people she knows. And but her care is being paid for by none other than Charles Widmore. And so Desmond kind of awesomely just kicks his way into his father-in-law's office, entering in a very different way than he did when we first saw their meeting, and kind of gets the information he needs about where Faraday's mother is. We see in the background of Widmore's office, he's got a wall art with Namaste written on it, which is the catchphrase of the Dharma Initiative, and a fun little tease to what we find out at the end of this episode. And actually, that's the very next note. Cara, did you have anything in here? I feel like I'm jumping over like 30 minutes of the episode.
No, I mean, no.
You see how many notes I added this week. For this episode, I have 2.
Oh, I got one note for the end of this episode.
Okay.
So that's all.
Go ahead and continue, Robert.
Well, so we get Locke does eventually find out where the others are camped in whenever in the 50s, and goes in to try to, and his "I'm your leader 70 years or 50 years in the future" card doesn't work super well, but it does keep him from getting shot immediately, as Richard seems at least willing to hear him out. This is where Locke gives him the compass and even says, "I'll be born on this date 2 years from now," which is why Richard actually was there when Emily Locke got rushed to the hospital.
Oh, god damn.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah. This is when we talk about like season 4 and knowing where the writers knowing where they were going now. That's what really makes this work, is now we find out, like, was Richard headhunting John Locke as far back? Like, was the island somehow aware of him? Was Jacob somehow aware of him?
Nope.
No. Richard was there because Locke sent him there, creating, again, this stable time loop.
And so this dark-haired other has gotten back to the camp as well. He thinks they should just shoot Locke. Richard tells him not to. And when he keeps insisting, Richard says, "I said put the gun down, Widmore." Or Widmore. And we are in fact looking at young Charles Widmore on the island. And Locke just has a fun little, wow. Like he doesn't really know what to do with that information, but can't help but find it funny. So we had the allusion to the fact that Widmore had been to the island before when he had his conversation with Ben, said that island was mined once, it will be again. But this is our confirmation that not only has Widmore been to the island, he is in fact an other who got off somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And so Desmond gets back to the boat and, to his credit, tries to be like, well, I couldn't find her now and I said this was the last thing we'd do, so forget it, we'll just go on with our lives. And Penny, to her credit, recognizes that Desmond isn't really the kind of guy who can leave something unfinished like that, so she and their son will go to the U.S. with him to locate Desmond's mom. And we find out that their son is
Faraday's
named...
mom.
Faraday's mom, yeah. And we find out that Desmond's son is named Charlie.
Which Katie called at the beginning of the episode when she was watching it with us. She said, they named that baby Charlie, didn't they?
Yes, well, they should have. Which, yes, he's named after the, drive shaft member, the, late limited character who saved Desmond's life and played a key part in getting them together. Awkwardly, also the name of the father that Penny hates and never wants to talk to again.
But I have a feeling that on his birth certificate, it says Charlie, not Charles.
In parentheses, not Charles is on the birth certificate.
Yeah, yeah.
We do get a nice bit of shading for Widmore, who, when he sees Desmond, he doesn't ask where Penny is. He just basically makes Desmond promise, like, once you're done with this, get her out of here and keep her safe. Because, of course, Ben has already visited Widmore and said, basically, I'm going to kill your daughter as payback for you killing mine. So, yeah, Widmore knows he can't really protect Penny, but just hopes that Desmond can. And we'll see if that's something he can do as the season goes on.
Before we continue, Cara, did you have a note that you want to put in here?
All I wrote was, Charles Widmore. Yeah, that was my note for the whole episode.
Nice. The last thing that I wrote down was that of the three of them, this felt like the most place setting that we've had in a long time. But we actually didn't mention one big one from episode 1. When Richard encounters John after he's been shot and treats his wound, Richard tells him that he's going to be the one to fix the time skipping. And when Locke asks him how, Richard says, well, you're going to have to die, John. So now we're getting another big piece of that. How did John die? Why is he in that coffin off island? Robert, you said we're getting to that quicker than you remembered. The life and death of Jeremy Bentham is in this next batch of episodes.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I was saying. I was I remember that being like in the last 3 or 4 episodes of this season, but
because I haven't looked at the list recently, but I remember this being a pretty clean divide. Time traveling for the 2004 survivors and how do we get back to the island from the 2007 people. Then back half, everyone sort of kind of back together. But no, I don't think it's that clean of a divide, is it?
I don't think so, because even when people get back to the island, it's not as simple as everybody being back together.
Right.
So there's a long road ahead there.
Yeah.
Wow. We do find out that the reason those soldiers came to the island was because the U.S. Army misplaced a nuke, as it has done occasionally.
More times than should realistically be expected of something as big as a fucking nuke.
Yeah,
listen, they're easy to misplace. Just put them under a piece of paper. It's fine.
Yeah, you want Godzillas? This is how you get Godzillas.
Or as Faraday suggests, you just bury it.
I mean, yes.
But that's where the episode, or the name of the episode came from. Why episode 3 is called Jughead. That's what is stamped on the side of the nuke that the others in the 50s have been babysitting.
I will say I love what they did with this, because when Faraday recognizes that a person in their camp has radiation burns and has put the information together, he realizes that not only is there a bomb, but it's leaking or it's been compromised. And he's like, if you take me to it, I can render it inert. And I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit, but I was like, this is the classic omni-scientist that, we get a lot in Hollywood. Are you a theoretical physicist? Well, then you also must know how to make sulfuric acid, or just being a scientist of any kind means you can do anything from any discipline, which made it kind of gratifying that when he gets to the bomb, he basically looks at it for a minute and then is just like, yeah, dig a hole, put it in the hole, cover it in concrete. And it's like, yeah, okay, I buy that he would know that with his knowledge base. And his reasoning for it is, well, if you do this, it won't go off because the island has not been destroyed by a nuclear blast 50 years in the future where I'm from. And while that's not very convincing to the person he's talking to, it makes sense from his perspective.
No, it actually does.
I think he does. I think he sees Ellie as being someone familiar, though he's not quite sure about it. And he does seem to recognize her for a minute.
I didn't get to mention one of my favorite parts. and I don't remember which episode it's from, but it's a Hurley and Saeed exchange, and I'm sure Hurley says something to Hurley about, or wait, Saeed says something to Hurley about something that he's eating, about comfort foods, and Hurley says, if you ate more comfort food, maybe you wouldn't go around shooting people. And I cannot relate to that any more than I do. Like, food is what keeps me from shooting people.
That is good for the two of us, I think, and for everyone else around us. I'm glad that you have comfort food and don't shoot people instead.
Agreed.
We end on the kind of dramatic note of Charlotte, who's gotten the worst symptom you can have ever in a genre TV show, which is an unexplained nosebleed. That never means anything good. And by the end of episode 3, she's collapsed and her nose is bleeding profusely, indicating that this time hopping thing is just not something they can keep doing indefinitely.
And if you're a fan of the show What We Do in the Shadows, you would recognize this as the Brain Scramblies. As far as relevant dates go, we only have 2 of them this week. On November 17th, 2004 was the episode Solitary, episode 109, and then November 23rd, 2005, so a little over, or almost 20 years ago, Collision, episode 208.
The death of Shannon.
Yay! Happy Thanksgiving!
And in 2006, the show was on a 3-month break. They aired September and October, and then were gone off the air November, December, and January, came back in February. And like we said, 4, 5, and 6 all started in January, so no relevant dates there. So that is going to wrap us up, and that's also going to take us into our Thanksgiving break. We will not have a new episode next week. We'll be back the week after, so the first week of December, to find out more about the Brain Scramblies and time traveling and the life and death of Jeremy Bentham. And God, I love being present for this, Cara, like witnessing it with you.
Oh boy.
Robert, what brings you joy these days? What are you reading, doing?
So Cara and I have a thing we've both really gotten into, and I'll let her do it. I will say I just watched the first season of The Americans on Hulu, which I remember being one of those shows that got a lot of critical acclaim at the time, but I just hadn't gotten around to watching. Really fun. It's a story of 2 deep cover Soviet agents posing as a domestic happy married couple in the early 80s in Virginia. Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys play the 2 leads, and it's a really good spy thriller, like just a lot of great back and forth, dead drops, follows, people getting stabbed in dark alleys. Played out against a really, just interesting perspective of, oh yeah, everybody's on the verge of nuclear war. But what really hit me was just, this is also a story about 2 people whose marriage, is a lie. It was a cover. It was just something that they were assigned by command. And then kind of playing around with the idea of, can we fall in love and actually make something meaningful out of this, despite how screwed up our circumstances are. So brilliant show, great role by the leads. A great show that also does not rely on any of its main characters being idiots, like the FBI that's hunting them. Like, they're smart, and our characters have to be smart to stay ahead of them. Really good first season, so liked it a lot.
Nice.
Very nice. Cara, what about you?
So, as Robert alluded to, we have started watching a show called Pluribus. And, literally can't say anything about it except... if you like Vince Gilligan, if you liked Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, you'll probably like this.
I would say especially if you like the episodes he wrote on the X-Files.
That too, yes. Which I did not know that he did that until I started reading about him. But boy, has this made my little brain break and get excited, and I'm making lists, and
Gave you the Brain Scramblies.
And thank God it did not. As you can see, my brains are not leaking out my nose. But yeah, it is a wild ride, and I am so here for it.
Very nice. I really have nothing going on right now. I read halfway through The Running Man, and then life's just been chaotic. So I have not finished that, even though, Cara, you have, Katie has. I'm way behind. I need to step it up and finish that. But hey, if you want to follow me online, you can do that on Instagram at DBHensley. And you can also follow the podcast on Instagram, Long Walk Podcasts, plural. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us to see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming. You can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you very much for listening, and if you enjoyed this show, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
I'm going to go home and eat some comfort food or kill people, whichever I do first.
Either or.